Note taking is good today, and like I said, I will record it so you can always you're always good at the notes. So going forward with this, so what does it take to be a diamond coach? Yeah, it's true, right? Yeah, notes are like, they're handy. I find like you gotta find that right balance between note taking and then being in the moment with it, and it's hard. All right, so pushing for diamond, what does it take to be a diamond coach? The very first thing is you have to want it. I mean, you really have to want to be a diamond coach in order to go for it, because it does take a lot of perseverance. It takes that consistency every day, showing up, regardless of all that's happening in your life. And you know, sometimes that means showing up for 10 minutes, if that's all you've got, because sometimes life is nuts and we all know it. And with the majority of the time being that you're able to consistently follow like a power hour, so you can really hammer out the things that are important for the business. And it's about the mindset too. We want to be thinking about it as a business as opposed to our hobby, because when you're a hobby coach, it's not like that's a bad thing, but it's very hard to progress to ruby, diamond, all that kind of stuff when you're treating it like a hobby, because we just kind of have fun with it and we don't really set those push goals for ourselves. And we really want to set goals with deadlines that forces us to take actions we wouldn't normally take, because when we have that ambiguous goal of I want to be a diamond coach, it's like, okay, but then you never really push for it. But if you're like, I want to be a diamond coach by, you know, April 30th, then you're like, I gotta go. Like, I just gotta go for it. So it really makes a difference when we're setting those goals. And then when we have a goal with a deadline, we can reverse engineer it. And that's what I love to do, is we take it and go, okay, so I'm giving myself, let's say, 6 weeks to hit diamond. What does that mean that I need to be? What are the goalposts that I need to hit each week in order to make sure that I'm getting closer to that? So that might be like, I need to be sponsoring 2 coaches a week, or I need to make sure at least one of my new coaches is Emerald by week 3. That really helps you figure out what steps you need to be taking on a daily basis to make it happen. And I love this saying, I think it was Amy Silverman said it, imperfect action is preferable to perfect inaction. And that just really means getting out of our own way, because we tend to get in our heads about it. We think about like, oh, it would be really cool if I could do this, or maybe at some point I should do that, and it doesn't happen. But it would be better to get out there in the trenches talking to people, not knowing perfectly what we're going to say, but just getting it started. That's going to produce results that are better. And what's really interesting is you read about people who are successful people in really any industry. They aren't necessarily the best qualified, the most educated, in the best position. That doesn't matter. It's that they took action and they had faith in what they were doing. They believed it was going to come to fruition. And that is what is most important. It is just going for it. And I love also that saying, you can have results or excuses. So it's, having the day where, oh, I was too tired, or, oh, the kids were, bugging me, or any of that stuff. It's getting out of that and taking responsibility for your own business and knowing that you are in the driver's seat. So that is number 1. You have to want it. So number 2, reviewing the 4 vital behaviors. This is just a quick little reminder that these are things we need to do every single day in the business. These are the non-negotiables. Be a product of the product. Drink your shake, do your workout. Invite. Hopefully you can invite 5+ people a day, but even if you're having one of those crazy days, at least get out there and invite one person. Never go a day without inviting, because we want these behaviors to be ground into us so that we never miss them. Personal development, always every day be reading something or listening to something that is going to feed your mind with positivity, and that's going to give you that motivation and that inner strength and courage to go for it. And then recognition. And I find recognition's one of those ones where it can kind of be a little tricky to fit it in every day. But what it can come down to is sometimes you might do a big like social media blast for somebody and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of so-and-so, they've done X, Y, and Z, and we give them a big congratulations. But on a smaller basis, it might just be shouting out to somebody in our team page, like, you know, hey, so-and-so made their first sale. It's amazing. We should celebrate this. Or somebody maybe in your challenge group going, hey, so-and-so's been consistent. They post here every single day. I'm really proud of them. So it doesn't have to be huge, but it gets us into that habit of the recognition all the time. And as we get into team pages and that kind of thing, you know, giving people the shout outs for like on the volume boards, Success Club, all that kind of stuff. There's many different things where we can give shout outs on. So I find as you start to look for things that you can recognize people for, it starts to kind of fall into place where you're like, there's always something to be able to congratulate somebody for. And it doesn't even have to be about our business. It can be like, hey, my, you know, friend did this really cool piece of art, and just showcasing that. So it can be anything. And so on to number 3. And this is something that really puts things into perspective. So if Beachbody was a franchise where you invested, let's say $500,000 in order to run this business, would you treat this business like you're treating it right now? Are you working it hard enough that you would be satisfied that if you invested that kind of money, that you'd be getting the return? And so this really gets us thinking, because let's face it, Beachbody practically is like a franchise, except we didn't invest any crazy amount of money in it. We got all the tools handed to us. We do not have any overhead fees. We, you know, don't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. We really get the fun part of the business. We don't have to ship things or anything like that. But the downside with that is that mentally, it's like we don't have that much skin in the game in terms of investment. So we have to get that from our why. And that's going to be the very powerful motivating factor of why we're doing this. And really to focus on, you know, pretend that you did invest that kind of money. You bet your butt you'd want it back. Like, no doubt you'd want that money back, plus you want to be earning money. So it really gets us thinking about, would I be hitting the pavement harder if I had invested more money? And if so, what would I be doing if I'd invested $500,000? And that's gonna fire you to go further with it. On to number 4, be a leader. And this is so important. Right from day one, you don't have to be a big, you know, have this giant team to start being a leader. In fact, it can really put a wrench in things if you wait until you've got, you know, like a bunch of coaches under you, like let's say you're diamond or above, and then you decide to start doing the leadership role. That can really just like throw you for a loop, because you're like, I've never practiced this before, and now I've got to pretend that I know what I'm doing. It can be much better as, a brand new coach. It doesn't matter if you signed up yesterday, you can start being a leader in the business. And just, you know, go on the team pages and start giving advice or share what you're learning. This is what leaders do. It's not like leaders are perfect in any way, shape, or form, but they're trying to share information. They're trying to encourage and uplift others. And that's what's really important. So how do you get yourself in that frame of mind? Learn, what do the top coaches do? What do they actually do in their role? How are they running their organization? What are they doing that's unique and interesting? And not everything's going to be for each one of us, but sometimes we'll go, oh man, I love what they're doing with, their team trainings or something like that. So that's what we want to really look at and go, okay, I like this, and this, so I'm going to apply that. And then going from there. Leading by example is really important. So aim to be on those team leaderboards so that you can show your team that it's possible. Aim to get Success Club 5 or higher every month to show your team that it's possible. You really want to be setting the example of who you want them to be. And they're watching you as a leader. So that's why you really want to make sure that, are you doing your social media posts? Are you going to the events that you're expecting them to go to? Because they will not do more than you do as a coach, period. So that's something we have to really take into account is, okay, so what am I doing that I want them to emulate? And something that's interesting that I've heard a few different coaches say is if there was a camera in your house and all of your downline could see exactly what you did that day, would they progress in their business if they did the same actions? And that'll really get you thinking of, oh, okay, I could have done more today, or I could have invited more today. And it gets you to go that extra mile and get out of your own way and go, okay, if I want them to do it, I got to do it first. And so as we're going through the leadership stuff, as your team grows, it can grow so fast, especially as you're going to diamond and beyond. It becomes exponential, which is really exciting. But at the same time, there's only so many hours in the day. So we really want to be spending the time with those who earn it. This can be confused with those who are rank advancing quickly. That doesn't always mean that they're earning it. That can be really confusing when we're talking about this at first. So let me kind of break that down. So let us say that you are a diamond coach and you're getting close to 1-star diamond. You're very close to 1-star diamond, and you have a Ruby coach who puts in about half an hour a day. And then you've got a brand new coach who is really close to Emerald, who is just killing it, and they are going for it. Which one should you really be focusing the extra effort on? The one who is killing it, the one who is working, the one who is going out of their way to progress, rather than the one who is just kind of phoning it in. They're making progress, but it's slow. It's not to say you don't spend any time with that person, but you want to work with the people who are hungry for it, because you know that they're going to take your advice and run with it. If you're trying to drag somebody, you're like, oh man, you're so close, you should do this, and they keep going, yeah, I would, but you know what, the kids have been sick and I'll get around to it. You can't force anybody else to want it. So you want to work with the people who want it, because they're the ones who are going to just explode in the business. And get a system in place for training, anything like that. Of course, we've got different team trainings, which you can always plug your own coaches into. Project Care is going to run about once every 2 months from now on. We've got the Coach Basics training. We've got the Diamond Push training. So there's a lot of different possibilities there. If you've got Automatic CEO, they do have Emerald, Diamond, and Star Diamond training programs you can plug your coaches into. So you don't have to create something from scratch unless it's a passion of yours. I think training has to be a passion for us to really want to develop something thoroughly. And my goodness, if it's something you love, go for it. That's something I really enjoy about this business, but it isn't for everybody. But if you like it, by all means. And the cool thing about training is it really ingrains the own habits in you, because as you're trying to get other people to do it, again, lead by example, you have to be doing it yourself. So that's one thing I really like about that. And regardless if you're a brand new coach or whether you've been coaching for a long time and have a big team, have a team name and have a team page. It does not matter if you've got one coach under you at this point. Have those in place. Start being the leader right away. And definitely as you begin getting people on your team, you're going to want to set up getting started right calls, and you can lay those out how you like. Keep it not too complicated. I'm going to just find my GSR sheet just to give an example of what I like to touch on. So in my GSR call, I like to go over goals with them and their why. Those are both kind of linked in the same thing. I like to just go over this COO, Coach Online Office, briefly, see if they've got any questions and point out a few areas they should check out. I like to go over Success Club, Coach Basics, and I get them to make a list of 20 people who they're going to reach out to off of the bat so that they can get in that process of inviting. I like to keep it simple and don't go over that personally, because I find as a new coach there's so much overwhelming information that if we do too much at once, it's like, so keeping it simple and basic and giving them those tangible steps is going to be helpful. And then once I know their why and their goals, if they have those wavering moments, which we all do because this business is hard, we can go back to that why. So it can be like, I know that you want to be a stay-at-home mom so that you can quit your job that you hate, so that you can be with your kids all the time. We're going to do this together. So, sometimes we have to go back to that when there's the hard moments, because there are hard moments. So make sure to get the why, because that's always important. And number 5, we're moving on to, it's a numbers game. And this business is such a numbers game. There's no jokes there. The cool thing about that is that if it's a numbers game, then we really just need to talk to a certain number of people to hit our goal, which is exciting. So there was this interesting video I saw on YouTube. It was, I think it was the coach that hit diamond the fastest. Now, we're not talking about needing to be the fastest to get there, but I thought it was interesting what she did to get to diamond in 6 days. So what she did before she became a coach is she made a list of 100 people, and she reached out to every single one of them in 6 days. This is what blew my mind. Like, wow, that girl's got gumption. So anyway, she reached out to 100 people in 6 days, and there was a ton of rejection, of course. But because she reached out to 100 people, she got the yeses she needed to hit diamond. It was that quick and easy. Now, to break that down into what we can do personally is, if it takes 100 people to get those 8 coaches under you for you to hit diamond, then you just need to talk to 100 people about the coaching opportunity. It's that plain and simple. That's the takeaway that I like to take from that. And I think that's very true. I know when I did my push for diamond, it was about that many people that I talked to get there. So I think that's a very firm number to shoot for. And really remember that you as a coach have so much to offer. I mean, what we offer is a gift, both in the way that we help them, but the way that this opportunity is completely life-changing. This can help people to, get complete financial freedom. It's going to help them have the better health that they need to be, a better, husband, wife, a better parent, all those things. Is such an amazing thing that we do. And when we offer that to people, we got to remember that we're doing this for them. At the end of the day, yes, okay, we're gonna benefit from it, but they're gonna benefit more because they're gonna become a more independent person. They're gonna learn how to be a better mentor. They're gonna learn how to make an impact. They're gonna learn who they are, because this business forces you to get face to face with who you are and what you want to be, and to go for it with your goals, to do things you wouldn't normally do, to get out of that 9-to-5 job, which sucks. As far as I'm concerned, they all sucked. So I know some people love their jobs, and I mean, good for them, but I freaking hated all of mine. And so this is a gift. Even if they don't want to quit their job, having an extra, a few $100 a month, a few $1,000s a month to do whatever you want to do, to have that financial freedom and security, that's so awesome. So we are offering them a gift, and we got to keep that in mind when we go and reach out to people, because that helps us from getting in our own way. Because sometimes it feels like we're asking for something, but really we're giving something when we talk to people about the opportunity. All right, we've made it on to page 2. So, number 6 is social media. I'm going to start off by saying, highly recommend Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk, just because it really gets into the details of what makes a good business post and what doesn't, what's going to connect with your audience and what won't. I really like the way he broke it down. He did it focusing more on big company names, but it's still just as applicable information in a small business format. And find your favorite platform. I mean, my goodness, there's so many platforms out there: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Flickr, Tumblr, Snapchat, Vine, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Google+. I'm sure there's more that I don't even know of. So find what you like. My suggestion is pick 2 or 3 that you really enjoy and just be awesome at those. And do one at a time. Like, let's say Facebook's the one you want to focus on now. Do Facebook until you're awesome at Facebook, and then add in another one. Because otherwise we can spread ourselves out a little bit too thin. And sometimes we're not going to be native to the platform in that case. And again, he's going to talk about that more in the book, of what native to the platform means. But what works on, Twitter doesn't work on Facebook. What works on Vine doesn't work on Google+. So, it's that kind of thing. So that's important. And getting into your target market. Who are you talking to? Who is your audience? Who is your ideal customer? And the more specific you can get on who that person is, the better we can post to them. Because if I know who my audience is and what they love, what their hobbies are, what their jobs are, what their wants and needs are, then I know how to make my post appealing to them so that they're going to really want to work with me, so that I'm the one that stands out. Because, there's 400,000 Beachbody coaches. Why are they going to work with me over somebody else? Or why are they going to work with Carrie over somebody else? It's because they're going to have that personal connection to us. Beachbody is the platform we use, but we are our business. So that's really important to remember, that it needs to be your specific audience that you really want to work with. So what I suggest in trying to figure out your target audience, really your ideal audience will be yourself. So you're going to want to kind of figure out who am I? What do I like when I see a post? What is really something that engages me when I'm, going through social media? What makes me stop when I'm scrolling? Because that's the kind of thing that you're going to want to put out there for your audience. So figure out what your likes and hobbies are, and you're going to find those out for your hashtags mostly, because that's what's going to get people searching the web to find you. So this can be so many different things. It can take a little bit of figuring out how you want to hone it in a little bit. So kind of just think through, maybe you're a dog lover. So maybe dogs are something that, pretty much all of your team are going to have dogs. Or maybe you're looking at moms. But it's not just going to be moms, because there's a lot of moms out there. It's like, maybe it's moms soccer moms specifically. Moms who have kids that do soccer. That's going to really help hone in. So think that, start getting the brainstorm going on that. And regardless of which platform you want to work with first, go and secure your handle. And that's just how you show up on each platform, on every single one, so that, I'm fit with Coach Amanda. And I'm fit with Coach Amanda on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on everywhere. Because that's how people find me. So make sure you're going to get that in there. And when we talk about the target market a little bit too, that's when we get into attraction marketing. Because if I'm talking to my ideal client, they're going to want to work with me. They're going to take that step to like, comment, or message me because they want to work with me. That's what we want. Because in this business, doesn't it suck when you have to go and arm twist somebody to join your challenge group, right? None of us want to do that. It's uncomfortable for us. It's uncomfortable for whoever we're trying to arm twist. So we need to get away from that, and that's why we need to get that target market really honed in on. The other things we can do is join some general interest groups. So again, if you're the soccer mom, let's go and join some, sports for kids groups on Facebook or something like that. If you're the dog lover, go and join some dog lover groups. So that's going to give you some ideas of what to post for. That's going to give you some new people to talk to. So from there, of course, we're starting to meet the right people. We need to get into the conversations. So as we covered in Project CARE, we've got FORM, the Family Occupation Recreation Message. We talk about this all the time just because it's a good baseline. So maybe you start talking to somebody and you're like, hey, thanks so much for accepting my friend request. I always love meeting other people who love Huskies. Great, you got the conversation going. You've got that common ground started off with. As that conversation progresses, that gives you the opportunity to go, so, what kind of things do you like to do in your spare time? What kind of things do you do for work? How's the family? It just gives you things to talk about. It doesn't have to be that, cut and dry. If you've got some other questions that you think are great to ask, go for it. But this is a really good baseline. And ask as many questions as possible, because questions show you're interested. It gives you this wonderful thing to keep the conversation going, because statements don't always keep it going, especially with new people. And as it gets further in the conversation, through those questions, you're going to discover what their needs are. You're going to discover what their goals are. And that's going to give you that natural ability to invite them to what you're doing. A lot of the times we'll have different things come up when we're talking to people about their health goals, about their fitness goals, all that kind of stuff. And that's where we can invite them to get maybe a free account with us so we can help them with a meal plan. Maybe it's going to be inviting them to a challenge group. It depends on the situation, and I think you got to just feel that out by ear and kind of figure out, okay, this is what this person needs. Because sometimes maybe you're running a P90X challenge group and you met somebody who's recovering from hip surgery or who has a lot of weight to lose and they're not ready for an intense program. So you're going to have to kind of just figure out where they fit into how you can help them. And the other thing for conversations is check their Facebook profile. Because sometimes you'll see something they posted and you'll be like, oh, I'd love to talk to them about that. That's really cool. Maybe you'll see that they recently moved and you recently moved, and you can be like, oh, how are you settling into the new house? I know it's such a pain in the butt. I just moved myself. It gives you something to talk about. And then number 8, so perceptions. Thoughts matter. And this really comes down to personal development. And I know you guys have heard me go crazy about personal development lately. Well, that's because it really, really makes a difference in how we perceive everything and how things kind of fall in line in our business. And the more you get your thoughts on point with where you want to go, not just in this business, in life in general, because Beachbody is part of our life. It's not our whole life. So maybe you've got some really big goals outside of Beachbody. Great. We need to get our mind focused on them in such a way that we can be drawing that to us. So I'm just going to use financial goals for now as an example. Some things like positive affirmations, like, I am a money magnet. You can say that out loud or in your head multiple times throughout the day. As we know, the law of attraction, gratitude, being grateful for what we already have, draws more of the good stuff to us. On top of that, if we get into expanding that bubble, you can go into being grateful for what you don't have yet, as if you already have it. This gets our subconscious mind focused on it, and you'll see these really interesting things happen. What's really neat is that your brain will start to give you the pathways to see outside of our limited perception, I guess is the way to say it. Because what happens is we all get tunnel vision, right? We're like, life is this tunnel because there's so much going on. Our brain can't possibly take note of everything. So we get this tunnel vision, and then we get going like, I've got my bills to pay, I've got to do the laundry, I've got to, we're on autopilot for so much of it. But that can cut us off from being able to perceive some stuff that we just didn't know was there, even though it was right there. And I think a really good analogy is when you're, for example, you're looking for your phone or your glasses, and you can't seem to find them. You're in tunnel vision mode. You think you remember them somewhere else, and then all the meanwhile they're right in front of you or on your head if they're glasses. It's one of those things where we get so focused that we miss the big picture. So what can happen when you start to open up your mind to possibilities and we start living in that attitude of gratitude is that we'll end up seeing opportunities that were there all along, but that they were outside of our tunnel vision. So getting into that mindset of thinking big, of living with gratitude, of being thankful for, it can be anything. Just get into that habit. So one of the things that I like to do that's been very helpful for me, we've kind of got the bread ends of the day, right? The middle of our day, anything can happen. But when we wake up and when we go to bed, we've got control over that. So what I like to do in the morning is think of 10 things that I'm grateful for. That could be like, oh, I'm grateful it's a sunny day today. I'm grateful that my cat is snuggled up to me when I wake up. I'm grateful I've got air in my lungs. It can be anything. At the end of the day, think of the thing that you are most grateful for that happened during your day. And the neat thing that happens when we do that is that we have to think through all of the good things that happened to us that day in order to pick our favorite one. And that just reaffirms all the positive things that are happening in our life. So it gets us, it's a positive sandwich that way. We've got a good start to the day and a good end to the day. And that gets us in that flow. So I highly recommend that. And a vision board is always really good to make, because that way you've got that visual representation of what you want. And I highly recommend have your ideal home on there, ideal vacation spots, ideal business, ideal finances, ideal family, ideal love life, ideal health, all the big areas that are really important. Okay, so moving on from that, number 9, we have coach placement. And with coach placement, this becomes a little bit more important as your business grows. As you are a new coach, it'll have it alternating side to side as you sign coaches up, which right off the bat isn't a big deal. But as you start to grow your business, you're going to want to know where you're putting people. For example, maybe you are sponsoring some people who are discount coaches, and then you've got some people who are business builders. Well, you don't want to have all of your business builders on one leg and all of your, discount coaches on the other leg, because then you're going to have, a lot of emeralds popping on one side and then a lot of team volume on one side, but they're not going to pop into those emeralds. So then you're not going to hit that diamond rank. So you're going to want to make sure that if you know somebody's like going for the business building and you've already got a business builder on your left leg, that you're going to put that one on your right leg. So when we do that, just in the Coach Online office, if you go under my business, there's my placement at the very top of the list, and you can just set which side they're going to go on to. It's just something to pay attention to as we get growing with it. And if you're signing up your spouse, I highly recommend put them on the top of your strong leg. And your strong leg is where you're going to see your uplines, coaches appearing beneath you. And that's going to mean that eventually when your spouse's account is emerald, you're going to get double payouts on the team volume. So long-term business plan-wise, very financially good plan. So go for that. Okay, so number 10, talking a little bit more about reverse engineering, but in terms of Success Club. So we want to hit Success Club every month. And now that everything counts as 2 points, which is awesome, we really only need to help 3 people each month. And so when we're talking about helping 3 people, how does that break down into the weeks? And so one thing that I like to focus on normally is do a challenge group at the beginning of the month and a challenge group at the end of the month. This way you've got 2 good opportunities to be getting in those points. And try and focus on okay, by the end of week 1, I want to have at least 2 Success Club points. By the end of week 2, I want to have 4. By the end of week 3, I want to have 6. And this way, you're not waiting till that last week to scramble to get them in, because that is so unpleasant when you leave it to that panic mode sets in. And we want to have that visualization process going on all the time, where we're constantly going, okay, I know what I want. I'm going to have this done by then. So we want to be focused on it in a good opportunity like that. And same with coaches. So let's say you want to sponsor 5 coaches in a month. Then you're going to want to make sure that you're okay, by the 6th, I'm going to have my first coach. By the 12th, I'm going to have my second coach, so on and so forth. So by the 30th, you have your 5 coaches. So you break down by what your goal is when you need to hit each target. And it's not always going to happen as perfectly as that, but it gives you those push goals, because you can go, it's the 5th, and I don't have my first coach yet, so I'm going to go and talk to 10 people today about the coaching opportunity, so I make sure that I get in that one coach. All right, and third and last page of this training today. So number 11 is the power of intent. And this is something interesting that I have had happen to me multiple occasions where I've woken up in the morning and I've gone, I'm going to sponsor a coach today. And it's happened. And I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't have people lined up that I was going to talk to. It was just the idea and the thought of it that propelled me to take the action that was necessary. And that belief right from the beginning that it was going to happen. And it just lines you up to be in that right mindset, to find the right person, that it ends up happening. So it's pretty interesting when that happens. So setting yourself up for success with those positive affirmations and intent and belief that it's going to happen. And in your head, before you talk to people, they've already said yes. Go in as if they've already said yes. You're just going through the process of talking to them like you normally would, but they've already said yes in your mind. And then number 12 is why. Why we do this. So this comes down to what our dream life looks like. You know, in your ideal life, what's it look like? What do you do on a daily basis? And something that can be really good to do is close your eyes and visualize you wake up in the morning. You're in your ideal home. You know, what's it look like? And go through the day. Visualize yourself going through that day. What do you do after you wake up? Do you have breakfast in bed? Do you go and work out right away? Do you run the business then? Do you go for a swim in your gigantic pool because you've got a gigantic pool? Like, I don't know. What's your ideal life look like? Do you go on a film set? Are you a movie star in this? Like, you know, what is it that would really make you thrive on a day-to-day basis in your dream life? And sky is the limit. We have to get out of our own way sometimes because we can be the biggest naysayers on our own dreams. And it is so important that we shove that out and focus on what we want. Even if it seems like improbable, you got in the back of your head going, yeah, right. You got to ignore that and get into the point where you believe that that's a possibility to happen. And that's when the doors open and the possibilities come up and the thoughts and ideas start coming to us. And then great things happen in our lives when we become open to them. So on that note, I do like to say that we also want to make sure that we know with the business work that we do with Team Beachbody, it's sacrificing a little bit of time now, time and effort and a little sweat and tears so that we have more time to enjoy what we really want later. That's not to say your business is going to go on the back burner when you're where you want to be, but maybe you're putting in more time now, and that's because you're working, you know, a different job and doing Beachbody. We know that as soon as you get to that point where you can quit that other job, then you've got all this beautiful free time that you get to do what you really want with. And that's what's really exciting. And then number 13, hit diamond and keep going. Don't stop. That's one of the biggest pitfalls that people run into is they go to diamond and they're like, oh, great. Now my guys just got to get to diamond. And that's not what we want to do. I call this the diamond trap. And I did it. I had no idea. I hit diamond and I was like, sweet, now my guys just have to hit diamond. I'll be star diamond. And it doesn't work like that. And the reason it doesn't work like that is not everybody's as motivated as you are. Not everybody has the same aspirations, the same, you know, drive and all that kind of stuff. So we also have to remember that we're always leading by example. So if we're leading by example, then what do we got to do? We got to keep sponsoring coaches to show those coaches that we just got on that it's possible to sponsor coaches. And we got to keep doing all of those good habits that we want our coaches to do. So that's why it's important to keep on going, because if we hit diamond and we stop, you're probably going to have diamond for a little while, and then you might lose it because somebody quits and you didn't keep building, so you couldn't maintain it. So that's what's really important to do is we hit diamond, we keep sponsoring, we keep leading by example, and then as we're doing that, we're also starting to get into that leadership training where we're really trying to lift up our coaches and teach them what they need to do to get to that level too. And as I said earlier, you cannot want it for your coaches. They have to want it for themselves. You will find the diamonds in the rough as your business grows. So that's the real focus with this. So that is the training for today. And it's a lot to go over. But I really hope this was useful information in taking it to the next level with your business and trying to shoot for diamond. It is a big goal for so many people, but I think it's just really important to remember that it's those baby steps. It's those daily consistent habits that just build over time. And that's what gets you to the next level. It's not just one big push or anything like that. It's consistently setting new goals for yourself. It's consistently talking to people. It's being that product of the product, vital behaviors, all that good stuff. It all matters when we're talking big picture. So Anyway, so I'm gonna stop talking before I lose my voice. Were there any questions after all of that spiel?